Probably.
Is he at least responding to anyone?
No.
Because if not, then I would say we're just gonna start.
I'm not even sure if he's able to see the chat.
No, I
Maybe
think he
can't
needs.
connect audio.
Yeah, he might need to connect before he can do that. I don't know.
Well, you can see chat before, but
Yeah, but if he pays attention to it.
yeah,
If
I
he
also
doesn't
send
pay
that to him
attention
on
to the
Discord.
audio.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Okay, I mean, let's start. I'm pretty sure you will figure it out and we can catch him up. So, first of all, thank you everyone to make the time on such a short notice. As you know from our initial poll, we intended to have that a little bit earlier, but sometimes it's just the way it is. So, all the flexibility is much appreciated. Tomorrow around 6 p.m. European time, we're going to post a blog with some updates for contenders in 2019. So we wanted to give you a heads up because that it depends a little bit on the region how much it will actually impact anyone. Because some changes may apply for one region more than for others. But still, we wanted to give everyone an overview. So the first item that I'm getting out of the way is that season 3 for this upcoming season will have no offline finals, but that is just due to time constraints in how quickly we're gonna go into the 2019 seasons. So this time around, the idea is to have them run a bit closer to the OWL schedule, and that means that we're gonna be finishing off. Quickly check this again here. We're finishing off season 3 on all regions roughly on the 20th of January. Did it? No. There was someone joining, not him.
Yeah, it was me.
It was Tomba.
Ah, someone joining. Okay, hey.
Damn, hi.
Glad you can make it.
Tamba.
Okay, so we just started because Wallmaster is unsuccessfully trying to connect his audio since the start. So I was just about to say that we're going to have no offline finals in season 3 at the end of this upcoming season. That being for the region that we're going to start very swiftly again in 2019 when it comes to the new seasons coming up. So just the brief recap where we've been so far. 20th of January is when all the regions finished off their season 3 from 2018. And then we're going to start with a new trial season in around the same week. And in this trial season, or the whole season of 2019, there will be a couple of changes. So whatever the outcome will be of the season 3, doesn't mean that you're directly in season 1 of 2019. The only teams that will get a direct invite is Overwatch League Academy teams. Everyone else that participated and made it to the playoffs will be part of this teams that is in trials to compete again for re-entry. So this is a little bit of a new system, but it is in part to focus on what the academy teams are meant to do in terms of developing players. So we need to just make a cut at some point and allow this re-entry. And the idea is for going forward, whenever the year turns over. So then again in 2020 until something changes. Again in 2020 it would be the same scenario. Academy teams would have an invite. The top finishers of the previous year would be ending up in trials to compete there for re-entry. So
Isn't that... Sorry, can I throw questions in?
Sure.
Isn't that super bad for endemic orgs that want to invest into Overwatch? Especially in regions like North America, because they have they have less chances to
we come
invest
to-
into a
we come
scene
to
where they
North America.
can't get spots.
We're gonna go to North America in a sec.
Okay.
So very very valid question when it comes to North America. Another item that will change, and now this goes into a couple of things. Groups, or there will be no longer two groups in 2019 contender seasons, and there will be no 12 teams in there. The maximum team size will be 8, and the reason to that is just to get the competition to an even higher level as what we have at the minute. And we have seen that across all the regions, that every now and then we had just teams that were not as competitive as, I want to say, the top 8 around there. So we want to focus on making sure that the highest level of competition happens in contenders as intended. And with that said, North America, given that they have so many more academy teams potentially in 2019, they will split off into 2 regions. So they have like a western and an eastern region, bringing the total of regions from 7 up to 8 to compensate a little bit for that, the amount of academy teams that will be there, and allowing other teams still to make sure that they can make the way into contenders and compete there against the academy teams.
That's good.
So despite being invited for the first season of 2019, the second season, which will also be the final one, given that the seasons will no longer run longer, as we don't have 2 groups anymore, everyone will be just in 1 group. If by the end of season 1, an academy team finishes in the bottom 2, they will also be relegated again into trials. Same procedure as we would have for this year round. And then if they wouldn't be able to make it out of trials again, they would have had to wait until the next year to make a re-entry.
Can they still like go with the same players, or do they need to change their roster after dropping out from the basically contenders and going out to the trials? Or is it just a basic thing that they need to wait 1 year and try again with the same roster?
No, they can keep their roster. They can make changes.
All right.
Sort of the same way like it was now. If a team wants to make changes, they can freely do that. We don't have any plans to make any changes to the current system, aside from that you have a couple of more weeks in which you can make changes. And then once we are going into a playoff setting, there's again where the lock is intended. This is very, very similar to what we are doing at the minute.
Okay.
Can I have like one question?
Sure.
So instead of 20 teams in contenders and 2 groups, it would be only 1 group of 8 people, like of 8 teams
Yes.
in 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
And the playoff advancement would mean then that the top 2 would get an entry into semifinals. The other 4 will play regular quarterfinals to see who they're then gonna face.
Okay, and is it gonna have like an offline event as well in 2019? Like not the next one, because you said that the next one, due to timings, we can't. But like on further.
We come to that in a bit.
Okay,
so
sorry.
Baseline is that all the seasons will be played online. We have other thoughts around offline events that we're currently looking at, and in an ideal scenario, and don't take anything now as a guarantee. It is not. But what we are looking at is expanding what we had this first season, where we had North America and Europe. And in an ideal world, we're going to expand that a little bit further. Now, once this is really set in stone, then we will make sure that we update you guys accordingly. Now for the question.
Sorry. Can you guys actually hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Just one small question so I can understand it really good. If, for example, this season a non-academy team wins contenders, they're still gonna have to go to trials next year.
That's like where but the thing is, everyone will be there apart from any academy team, and that will happen in every region, unless there is no academy team, in which every team will be starting in trials, and there's then a smaller number of teams from Open Division that will join this trials pool.
So the trials pool will still be like, how many people will the trials pool be?
So
Since it's 8 and we're the only academy team, will it just be 8 and 1 doesn't get through, or
so
also haha, by the way?
Feels fun to be academy team.
I'm sorry,
I
guys.
mean,
So
we
special.
don't know. I still personally I still hope that we will have 2 next year, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, Paris is a possibility, but still.
Yeah.
So will the trials pool still be 8?
So the trials pool maybe a bit more, because we still want to have that
The
that
progression.
teams from Open Division can
Yeah.
can come in there. Full number is not there yet. We're gonna see if we want to make that a bit the first one to like bridge into this new system, make that a little bit of an extended one, if you want to call it like that, where there might be 10 or 12 teams.
Okay.
But we need to say how that works then for all the other regions once we have confirmation of which of all teams would also like to put in an academy team first.
The OWL teams are bound to their region for academy teams, right?
They are for now, yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to compete against other academy teams?
Yes.
I
Better
think we all,
competition
I
is
think
always
we all would, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess there's still this small issue of latency that we need to overcome. But yeah, let's see what we can do. So then, less teams, a longer season. What does it mean financially? Financially has always been a point that was raised consistently throughout the seasons. So at the minute, again, not finalized yet how the regional split is, because you will know that Europe was one of the regions that had a higher prize pool compared to, say, Australia or South America. It will be roughly the same, just that the distribution will be more top heavy, meaning the teams that have the better results and finishing first or second will have a better financial outcome in comparison to what they would have now. Hope that all makes sense as well so far.
It makes sense, but making it more top heavy is concerning for the path to pro progress when it comes to regions like ours, where there is not too many sponsored teams.
Yeah, it's a big question mark in my opinion.
Same for mine, really.
It just makes the teams with less resources more likely to be non-sustainable, and the team that have more resources and can get players to fully commit to contenders earn even more.
Yeah.
That is certainly a possibility, and it obviously be taken down as all the feedback that you guys bring up. For now, that's the thought process for going forward. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, some regions may or may not be impacted more by one change over the other. But as Contenders is meant to be a global program, working under the same mindset across all the regions, at some point it's the unfortunate timing where you need to make a decision. Again, this one may impact Europe a little bit more than, say, America, because they have already many more teams that are sustained by Overwatch League teams. And then again, you have someone like Australia, where there's no Overwatch League team present or no academy team present. They may have a different challenge that they perceive from all of these changes.
And the rest is still the same, right? So in order to get to contenders, you need to be in top 16 of Open Division playoffs.
That is for now should be completely unchanged. It will just be different in the amount of teams that will go up.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, and the same from contenders, the amount of teams that are going down. The idea here is to have like 2 going down, and then mix this with probably 6 of the teams from Open Division.
So it would be like 2 teams from Open Division going up and 2 teams going down, and it's like a kind of like a quarter-final to a final, no, semi-final to a final, kind of.
Yeah, actually, I think I probably just misspoke there. It should be 6 from open division going into trials once we are in the full system. So for the second trial season, 2 going down.
Only the bottom 2 of contenders?
I mean,
Yeah,
8 teams
so-
and then bottom 2. That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, when you take again the playoffs, so
Yeah, so
1
it's
and
not
2
half of
goes to
contenders.
semis, the other 4 advance to quarterfinals, and then 2
Yeah,
go down.
got it.
Again, the trial season is likely looking different, the one that starts at the beginning of the year, obviously to make that switch. Then the second trials part will be in this, what I want to call sustainable model. And then we hopefully are in a good swing that we can continue to carry that over into 2020, where we start the cycle again of academy teams being invited. And then we fill up a trials pool and promote the fitting number, depending obviously on region, of how many teams should be promoted, and fill up the remaining spots next to the academy teams. All right. So,
One question.
Okay.
Yeah, will this affect to the licensing that Blizzard does with tournaments and everything?
How do you mean?
Like, okay, you will have 8 teams in contenders instead of the amount of teams that we have now. But if this will mean that Blizzard actually kind of lets more more license to have external tournaments for the scene, would still be fine. I think it would be actually better with this be happening.
We're gonna welcome everyone that wants to do a tournament. There are a
Like
couple
with a prize pool like Beat, or prize pool like a little bit like similar, so we have more activity down the line on contenders.
If there's anyone that wants to do such a tournament, we're more than happy to support them. There's only a couple of I want to call it blackout periods where we would try to avoid having these, but they are very much tied to any final stages of OWL or the grand finals.
Yeah, but like,
of OWL.
maybe I'm mistaken, but the information I have from at least from Spain is that you can run tournaments but you need to call it community tournaments, and the prize pool can never be more than 1,000 euros.
There's 2 different licenses. There's one community license, which you are talking about, and there's custom licenses that you can apply for with Blizzard and work out tournament schedule, prize pool, sponsors, etc. with them.
So, as a person who's been licensing all of them this year, I can tell you that there's been a lot of growth throughout this whole year for third-party tournaments in Europe. For example, last year we didn't have much, right? But now this year, throughout the year, we've seen many organizers come over to us with the requests for custom licenses with higher prize pools, and I can see that growing even further next year, but I wouldn't be able to tell because none of this is organized by us. It's organized by third-party organizers, and yeah, there is like one coming in Spain soon, for example, which there hasn't been many this year, but it's happening.
You're letting this happen, like?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have guidelines, and they're all described in the license, but we're definitely not trying to shut any of them down.
No. I mean, I'm not saying that. Just like, if they happen to just like be in the right healthy guideline. Well, never mind. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
I understand what you mean. Like, it's definitely helpful for the scene if there are more third-party tournaments going on, and we are doing our best to try to let them kind of grow by themselves in this ecosystem, and we're definitely not trying to decrease the amount.
Okay. No, because like I see that having 8 teams only in contenders is healthy on the long run, but it's healthy mainly if we can have any other like tournaments coming up that actually like get some increasing visibility and stuff. So.
Yep, I agree. Oh, we have Valmaster who managed to join.
Yay!
You hear me?
Yes, we do.
Sorry, I couldn't look.
Congratulations!
MVP.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was a brief overview of how the structure will be looking like. The last item that I wanted to share with you is a rough calendar where you can expect things to happen. So that just that you're aware. So for the trial season, end of January should be 2, maximum of 3 weeks spread. It's unlikely that we can necessarily have that done just on the weekends like we did so far, but also across. There's some feedback noise in there from someone.
Can we all mute our microphones while David's talking, I guess?
Whoever it was, it's gone now. Thank you very much. Right, Contenders Trials at the end of January, probably over a time span of 2 weeks. Unlikely that that happens just on the weekends, where we can also have competition throughout the week. That may also make it easier from your end when it comes to starting times, people being still at work or being at school or at the university in similar situations. Then the first regular season is going to start around the end of February, so that there's a small, maybe 2 weeks break in between. Everyone can see where they're at. Rosters will be unlocking again if anyone wants to make a move, if there's need to make a move. And then we're gonna play the regular season now with an extended amount of matches per team up into April. And then for the first part, the quarterfinals, that will probably happen right the week after. And then the semifinals and the final are currently scheduled for the end of April, start of May. So that would finish off season 1. Shortly after, the next iteration of trials is going to happen, again for roughly around 2 weeks. At the beginning, middle of May, another 2-ish weeks of downtime until we start second week of June with the next regular season. That will go until the end of July, where we will then also head again to the first week of playoffs with the quarterfinals, and then roughly 2 weeks later, semifinals and finals. And if you remember the blog that was posted quite a while ago now, when it comes to the signing windows for Overwatch League, there was a call out that the signing window will close at the end of stage 3. So there's a good amount of overlap happening between where Contenders regional regular seasons are going to happen, and until Overwatch League makes it in their calendar until the end of stage 3. So there should be ideally plenty of opportunity available to coaches and scouts to check across all the regions should they have any desires or needs to actually make changes to their lineup and pick up more players. That's obviously a if, it depends. I don't anticipate that all the teams will go with 12 players into the season. So there should still be spaces available should teams see the need, and we want to make sure that we have a calendar that is aligned to when these signings are still possible. Now everyone can unmute again for questions.
If that's okay, I would like to start. For me, basically, one of the biggest questions right now is like, obviously, I don't have an academy team. Buzzcup is a normal team, so we are. Whatever is gonna happen, we're gonna end up. Can you hear me? It actually says my mic volume is low.
It is a bit low, yeah.
Not
But it's
quite sure
understandable.
why. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So basically, how do you intend to market trials for next season? Because I'm gonna be honest, we've been in talk with orgs, but telling them that however we do in this season, next season we're gonna be trials, this just kind of sounds depressing. Also adding the fact that trials has not been successful viewer-wise. So basically, however we do, we're gonna drop to trials, and trials, as I said, has not been really successful viewer base. Like the viewer base was not high. How do you intend to promote trials if it's gonna be more important for other teams?
Yeah, so there's not an easy answer to that. Also, because trials has been approached differently again, depending on which season you're in. So we have been on, I want to call it on the positive end of things, where we could arrange this with our production team as well, and where they had availability to make for seasons 2 and season 3 trials broadcasts happening. As you remember, that wasn't happening in the first season of the year, which was unfortunate. North America, for example, they couldn't find such an arrangement, and I believe it was the same for Australia, South America, and maybe Pacific. As far as I know, China and Korea also had trials broadcasted. So to that extent, the idea is that we try to make sure that every region has a broadcast of trials next year. Being that again with someone like Broadcast GG or on a similar level, because that also then provides them an opportunity when it comes to up and coming talent to actually showcase themselves. So it fits the purpose here as well. When it comes to you're going to start in trials no matter how you do, this is correct, and I can see that being an unfortunate outcome, but in the end this will happen to every team that is not an academy team. So I believe that will be a situation that is very understandable by anyone who is looking at how the system is going to change, or how the seasonal approach is going to change. When it
Organizations will probably not drop you just for starting in trials, or like not consider you if you have decent if you have a decent standing going into from season 3. If you need help with talking to them, I can help you too, like with suggestions and stuff, or like mapping out how you're gonna sell it, etc.
Does it answer your question though?
Kinda, yes. It's still a little. I'm not gonna lie. It's still it feels a little frustrating, just because I was expecting a little bit like something else. I feel like this is more going towards the way of making the Overwatch League and all of whatever the Overwatch League stands for, like the elite and everything else, just kind of feels like what's left. But like, I might be wrong. I hope it somehow still kind of works out. But I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's more like a process, since this is not like this looks like a marathon. So they kind of like have, I don't know, but they kind of have like this feedback from the petitions that they have from organizers and everything. They just like keep adding slowly upgrades to make this durable instead of instantly successful. Because I think that if they do the instantly successful, they just like will last 5 years, and their aim is just to be there for I don't know, like traditional esports. So I think that this is just a process that is unfortunate for us that we are in now, that it will not maybe not benefit directly to us, but it's just, I think it's healthy for the Overwatch scene regardless.
Yeah, sustainability is a big approach, and then the other item that is always on the list, and again here it comes where one region may perceive a change different than another one. In the end, all changes that we make to the program is global and based on global feedback, and some feedback may be more vocal or more prevalent in other regions than maybe for us, while everyone has their own fair share of topics that they feel super strongly about, but not every region has necessarily the exact same list of priority when it comes to the topics. And that's where in the end we need to make some compromises along the way.
Yep.
To pick up your point on the viewership, that is something I believe that you can see also in traditional sports, where you always will have those that may not be following the scene as much as dedicated, that switch into events that are being done on a maybe much more global or much higher scale. If you just go back to football, FIFA World Cup is probably the most watched event all the time when it's on. And if you then go down through Champions League, National Leagues, Second League, Third League, down into Amateur, that's where you see a similar trend, where you have those that don't necessarily follow the sport. They tune in when it's the World Cup happening. Those that follow it highly extensively will tune in also when the lower leagues are playing, because they are really just super invested in that sport. And we have the same with us as well. There will be the occasional viewer that is not as highly invested in the whole esports scene or the whole competitive scene, but they have heard about Overwatch League before, and that's where they just want to check it out. I hope that makes sense, but it is something that has been seen in other areas for decades as well. And I think that's just reality. We need to also accept that at some point there's a really hardcore audience that is very happy to watch as much as competitive broadcast it can, but then there's also a more casual audience that is not necessarily as invested and is just watching it every now and then.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, absolutely agree with. I think it's gonna push Contenders, because if you look at it, a lot of the critique coming into Contenders is it's nothing more but a tier 2 scene, while I feel like a lot of players who are in Contenders are way better or partly as good as Overwatch League players. So having academy teams, like empowering academy teams, obviously gonna empower Contenders too, which I personally in a way like, even if I don't benefit myself or my team does not benefit from it. So I see that this is not necessarily a bad idea. I just feel like by empowering Contenders with academy teams, trials might even be looked at as being something even worse, and that's just kind of like my concern.
I mean, it's only the first time trials in 2019. The other time will be only the bottom 2 teams.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just to basically filter out again at the start of the new year.
I just feel like maybe you could have, like, at least the winner or the finalist two could have stayed just to make a statement, you know, like just to show. For example, as I said, if Young and Beautiful, Bazooka Puppies, or some unsponsored team wins Contenders this season or comes to finals, that these two teams could have stayed. Especially in Europe, it's possible because we have less academy teams. I feel like that maybe could have made a statement, you know, something like that. I feel like that could have been interesting, but just by like putting literally everyone back, it's gonna be something that happened to Copenhagen Flames this season, where everyone was looking at them as being the former Eagle, and now they didn't make trials, and it just, I mean, I know it's a whole different situation. They're not necessarily the full roster of Eagles and everything, but for a fan, they don't know that. They just look at it and they just see the former Eagle players, and it's just such a disappointment for a fan, for the players too, to just get all the critique and just not making trials and being an open division team from being the finalists. It just kind of feels bad.
But the question that you have to ask yourself, is that the problem of the team performance, or is that the problem of the organizer? Because if you're saying that putting everyone down to trials to shuffle, or like to reshuffle, is the problem of the organizer, the team performance itself shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. That's true.
Of course, it's bad publicity for them, but Blizzard cannot do anything about it.
Yeah. Imagine if your team wins Contenders and you just drop trials and like you have to go through a whole process again, and you
then you
somehow
can win trials.
You know? Yeah. It's always something can always happen. It's just always
just
like
imagine
looking at the luck. Just
Speaking firsthand, we did that last season, by the
way. I'm sorry, I actually did not think
It's working, by the way.
This was actually bad, I'm just gonna mute myself.
Easy with the big plays.
Go again.
Okay, so in terms of all the items and topics that we wanted to share up front before the blog is going out tomorrow night, that would have been it. If there are any more questions, we still have a bit of time. One thing that I want to call out very specifically is that we ask you that everything that has been said stays confidential and doesn't end up on Reddit in like 5 minutes. There's enough stuff already there to keep them all entertained. And we want to make sure that we can share these items with you always a little bit ahead before anything goes out publicly in the future as well, which means as much as everything stayed in the Discord so far across the year, as much and if we can continue this trend, then we can look forward to have, well, the rest of this year and another year where we can give you some heads up about what is coming in the future.
I have a question.
Sure.
When does season 3 start?
Yes, please.
Oh yes. Oh.
I was about to ask the same, but I was
Yeah,
waiting.
same.
That's
I
why
believe,
we're here. No, just kidding. But, yeah.
I believe Anna will share the full schedule with you guys tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
The season will start on the 18th of November, and we're gonna this season go back to a Sunday and Monday match day. We all finish up a week before Christmas so that everyone can still go out instead of scrimming, buy presents for their parents and loved ones.
With your friends.
So are we playing the 25th too? Or am I wrong here?
We finished before Christmas, you just said 25th is...
Okay, I'm stupid. Okay.
We are still on this two groups and five match days for any group. So we finished before Christmas. Don't worry.
I don't know if that's updated to the situation with Eagle and the 5th team and how we're gonna do the drawings. Is that do you have an answer for that already too?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. As I mentioned, I believe I gave that information to about everyone. No, not to everyone.
I don't think so.
Will there be like LAN for the finals or playoffs
It
or
was
whatever?
just with the trials, so with the trials teams, I believe. So we will have a clarity about the situation that you described by Wednesday.
All right.
And then we will share any more updates that are relevant for everyone going forward from there. We have thought about it.
Let's cross fingers then.
Wait, the play days are Sunday and Monday, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunday and Monday. And then we will have in January an entire, what I bet Trid will brand again as like a super week of playoffs. Should we spoil that again as well?
I mean, you spoiled it half already, so you can just
give us the
go
leaks,
all
man.
in. Yeah. You cannot just drop the word super week and then not continue.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. I don't have it in front of me because I'm just sitting on my laptop, but I believe it was Tuesday 8, Wednesday 9, Thursday 10th, and Friday 11th of January.
So first week of January, basically. Yeah, second week.
Yeah. There you have it. Super week.
Alright then.
So that what is this for?
That was the playoffs for this upcoming contender season.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Okay. We have like 10 more minutes. If anyone has any immediate questions right now, make sure to make your voices heard. If you have any questions later, make sure to drop them either to me or to Anna. So once we have also the second session concluded, and once we had time to go through all the questions, we make sure that we compile them and share updates as we can. And again, for all the stuff, keep that to yourselves. The blog post is going to be scheduled for tomorrow at 6 p.m. our time. That goes over different regions, updates to the group sizes, to a second North American region, and a couple of other items.
All right.
I'm good for now.
Yeah, this sounds fair.
Yeah.
Tommy, I think I saw some audio coming, but I'm not sure if there was a question because I couldn't hear anything.
I didn't say. I was saying it's fair. I think so.
Okay. Oh, there, Tomba. The same thing again.
That is fair. That
Maybe
he
it's
thinks
just
so.
display error, yeah. Okay. All good. All good.
Let me see. Is it not better?
Yeah.
Okay, it was just my microphone was so muted. But yeah, I just say that
Right on time.
I think it's fair enough. So yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't muted.
It was just so low.
Yeah, and the WebEx showed me someone else talking as well, so there was confusion. Hey, technology, it's okay.
Yeah, if there's something comes up on my mind, I will ask it later.
Okay. Right, last call. Any more questions? If not, I would like to thank you again for making the time on such short notice. And if you have anything that crops up after the session, just send us a message.
All right.
All right.
That is unfair.
Okay. Thank
Thanks,
you very much,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks.
Good luck in
See you
sessions,
later.
guys.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Have a nice evening.
You
Same.
See ya.